I'd just like to tell everybody a little bit, city commissioners, city staff, of course, who probably the city staff is more informed because we work on a day-to-day basis, but also those in the public about what's going on and what's been happening with the Kansas Logistics Park and some of the events that are going on. To give you a little background, some people may not know this specifically. In early 2010, we had a vision for a way to change the growth and the opportunities for Newton and therefore Harvey County. And the decision was to build something called the Kansas Logistics Park, which at the time we didn't have a name for it. But we knew that there were opportunities coming up with transportation, logistics, hubs that we could take advantage of because of our highway access, our rail access, our airport access, and our central location in the middle of Kansas. So it was a move forth, build it, and we hope they will come, which we've been working very much on. We've gotten a lot of attention outside of our county, and then just recently, this late last summer, early fall, we decided to turn back in and look a little more introspectively at companies that are closer at home and what their needs are and how can we assist them and therefore also help others and grow our project, which is exactly what we've done. So we did a report, for lack of a better term, and I have a copy of it here tonight, all 103 pages of it, fully documented. If anybody wants to read it, it makes great bedtime reading. But basically I can sum it up for you. We interviewed 15 companies in south central Kansas in a region, not just in our county, but in the whole region, from companies as large as Spirit to companies as small as local job shops, you know, small manufacturers here in Newton that have 25 or 30 employees. And what we asked them is, what do you see are the positives and the negatives of the Kansas Logistics Park, our project, to you as a company, the South Central Kansas area, and business in general. And overwhelmingly, they came back and said that it's a positive. Over 86% of the respondents, we interviewed, as I said, 15 companies and 26 different business leaders and stakeholders, that it is a positive. The other thing that came out of that is the type of thing that we're trying to accomplish here with the Kansas Logistics Park is something that needs to be done on a fringe. It can't be done necessarily inside of Wichita because of the congestion and the rail congestion or the highway congestion. So we went forth and we've been working on that, and we've been talking to others now about what are the results of that study, of that report that we put together. As a result of that, ladies and gentlemen, we have had 6 site visits from December to now. We have 3 more scheduled right now, and we're working on 3 more. Now, you ask, well, what have they been site visits from? And what those have been are 3 different factors. We have operators, okay? Those are people who would come into our park that we're designing and building. Those are the people who would come in and operate a facility. In other words, and I'm going to pick on an audience member, Jason, you're an operator and you would come in and you'd say, I will move the freight from truck to rail, rail to truck, I'll store it, I'll scan it, I'll make sure that it gets sent to your business in a timely manner. That's an operator. They would operate the facility for their customer base. We have customers. Those are obviously people like Glenn, who says, I need 25,000 or I need 50,000 square foot of warehouse space that I can store my peat moss, or I can store my radios that I'm going to ship out, or whatever the case may be. And then we're also visiting with investors. And those are the people who potentially may say, you know what, I don't want to operate it, and I don't want to, I'm not a customer who's going to use it, but I would like the opportunity to be involved and build the building that's the warehouse. So we have 3 sets of people who are interested. I've talked to some people about this, and it's the analogy is this. The Kansas Logistics Park is something like healthcare. In other words, you work to make sure that you are healthy, you eat the right foods, you research what's right for me to eat. If I have thyroid problems, maybe I don't want to eat this, or maybe I'm gluten intolerant and I don't want to eat that. And you do everything right, but sometimes it takes a while to make sure that your health is good. Occasionally you have hiccups, You might get an ulcer, so you figure out how to work on that, but you keep moving forward in your healthcare. And it doesn't mean just because you maybe had a hiccup that you stop taking care of yourself. It means you keep looking at the ways that you can. And we've continually done that with the logistics park, and the fact that we look at what are the trends, where are the directions that we need to go. And one of the ways I'd like to equate this to you tonight is there's an article in a magazine, which I'm sure a lot of people in this room probably never saw, and I'd be more than happy to provide it. It's a national, international magazine. It's called Trade and Industry Development. It goes out to professional real estate people on a national, international scale. It goes out to site locators. Those are the people that place projects in communities. It goes out to the companies themselves, and it came out in late November when we rolled out this report. And we couldn't have paid for this result that came out, but there's an article in here called The Reemergence of the Iron Horse, or basically railroad. And what it says is, we've probably all heard, I'm sure most of you I know have heard about the LPKC, Logistics Park Kansas City, that is run by BNSF, the major Class 1 railroad. And what this report basically says is that LPKC, the Logistics Park Kansas City, came on board in October of 2013 after 10 to 12 years of planning and development with the capacity to lift 1.5 million or 500,000 containers. Now, I can look around the room and I might get some blank faces on what a container is, so I'm going to give you an analogy or a description. How many of you had to sit and watch a train go through Newton? Everybody in the room? Those boxes that are on those train cars, those are called containers. They're 40-foot containers. LPKC opened in October of 2013 with the capacity to lift and move 500,000 of those when they opened. At capacity, when they're finished, they will move 1.5 million of those. Now, just to give you an idea, when you're sitting watching a train come through Newton, Mr. Mayor, they have what they call unit trains, the Class 1 railroads. A unit train is anywhere from 120 to 135 cars. So picture 1.5 million of those you're waiting on. That's how many are going to roll through that facility. What they said in the report is that as a result of that, and that growth, because logistics and transportation is so critical, they anticipate 100 million square feet of warehouse and distribution and industrial space to be built within a 300 to 350 mile radius of Edgerton, Kansas. So does everybody know how close we are to Edgerton? We're 2 hours and 15 minutes away. So we're definitely in that radius. They also further said that the Kansas City area around Edgerton can absorb 60 million of that 100 million square feet, and the other 40 million square feet will be within a 300 to 350 million, or 300 to 350 mile radius. So in other words, if we could just get 1% of that 40 million square feet here, what the growth potential for us is. What is driving this is logistics, and I don't know if I have any truck drivers in the audience, but they say today that the average age of a truck driver in this country right now is 55. And at current rate right now, there's about a shortage of 40 to 50,000 truck drivers in this country. In 2016, they go to what they call electronic logs. And it's known, there's several truck drivers we've talked to who would come up here and stand and they say it's known across the industry that they fudge. You know, they drive an hour longer than they're supposed to, or 2 hours. When they go to electronic logs, they cannot fudge. And so they're predicting that at the beginning of 2016, that number jumps to like 200,000 in a shortage. So what is happening is industries, trucking firms, these warehouse operators are all starting to say, and the light bulbs are going off, we need to have hubs, like a hub and spoke. In other words, there's, the middle of the spoke, and we can go out and make a run in 500 to 600 miles and get back. So our drivers are not on the road for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and have to stop because of the new regs. So that's one of our advantages. One of the largest trucking companies in the United States today is testing this model as we speak. They're going out and building their own little logistics spots at different places where their drivers can be home at night. They can run out 3 or 4 or 5, 600 miles and get back. So that is partly what's driving this. So we're very excited to tell you, as our leadership, that we've had, since the 1st of December, we have had 10 new prospects as a result of this study. We have had 6 site visits. We have 3 more scheduled already for January, February, and we have 3 where they're just the people that we're contacting are trying to find dates to bring their teams down. So that will be a total of, 12 site visits within a 2.5 month time frame.